So this episode, I'm going to call it Don't Worship Gucci and Louis, Be Gucci and Louis. So basically, this is the concept of like people who like buy Gucci and Louis Vuitton and be like, oh, this is Gucci, this is Louis. And it's like, don't you know these are real people? Like, I feel like some people don't understand that Gucci and Louis Vuitton are actually real people. Like they feel that the clothing that they're wearing is just the name. It's like, don't you? That is the name of a person, right? So take your name and replace it with Gucci and see how that shit sound. And if it don't have the same ring, then give it the same ring as that, and then build a brand behind it, and say fuck them, and say fuck Gucci and fuck Louis. Like, you should have the mentality like, I have my own clothing store. I don't need Gucci. When I go in Gucci, I be like, where's the bathroom at? You take a shit and then you walk out. And then you work on your own store. Like, it's a different mentality. Like, that's how I feel. Like, I have clothing brands. So when I go in Gucci, I'm looking at, okay, they up prices, they got models, they got to pay for models, they got to pay for this. Okay, this is a green colorway, that's a white colorway, that's good. All right, where's the bathroom? Oh, the bathroom's all right, let me take a shit, and then I leave. You're right, because you understand the psychology of what goes into the brand, but you know the backstory and everything. So you're like, oh, that was Gucci who did that. That was Louis who did that. You're not fascinated like, oh my God, it's Gucci and it's Louis. It's like, no, it's me walking in this motherfucker. I'm taking the shit and I'm leaving. And then I'm going to build my own thing. You see? Like, that's honestly, I think that's the type of thinking you kind of should have. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should be able to see through that illusion a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because you know the backstory of it. You appreciate it. I'm not saying be disrespectful. Like, it's just a competitor. Like, your competitor is your friend too. Right? But it's just that. I'm just making it metaphorical. Like, you walk in the Gucci store, you take a shit in the bathroom, right? You flush the toilet and you walk out, right? Because you got money to put in ad spend, right? You got shit you got to take care of. You don't have time to spend $1,000 on a hat and say, oh, I have a hat on that's a Gucci hat, right? Because that 1,000 could have made you 10,000, or that 10,000 could have made you 100,000, right? You see what I'm saying? It's a different way of thinking. that's just how I think. Who cares if I'm making this video? I'm giving people great information. I can help people turn 100,000 to 1,000,000. I don't give a fuck that I'm wearing it. Who cares if I'm wearing a Gucci hat? They just want to make, 1,000% of what they're spending. Like, I can wear a Feli shirt or a $10 shirt and do that. But I just made you 100,000. But can that guy who spent $10,000 on a jacket, can he help you with that? No. You see what I'm saying? He's just wearing a $10,000 jacket. That's what I'm saying. No offense to people who buy Gucci. I'm just saying, like, that's kind of how you got to think if you're gonna start a business from that viewpoint. Like, Louis and Gucci. Like, take your family last name, right? You think you can't just put that shit on some shit? Yeah, it might look you like, no, I'm not gonna put my family on that. Because my family, they crazy. Well, think of a different fucking name to use then. Find something else. You know what I'm saying? That name made the family. It's like they didn't build the name off the family. It's just the name that made the family, right? So you think of a name that can make your family. You see what I'm saying? Instead of saying, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to promote Gucci. Now I'm good because I got Gucci. It's like, did that shit affect the world in any way? Did you help anybody when you bought that jacket? You just like, oh, I'm just wearing Gucci. No, I'm just saying, I'm just putting shit in perspective. But I mean, it is. I mean, to view it as a success symbol is just what it is. But that's what they're selling. They're selling. This is basic. It's pretty basic, but there's advance to this as well. If you look at the psychology, and if you understand that the way it's like, look at Balenciaga. Like Balenciaga is brilliant. Like how they took those distressed shoes and made like, oh, these are $1,000. They're distressed. They're torn apart distressed shoes. So you take distress and you make it profitable. So now you got people who have this type of shoe. You got people who have dirty shoes already. So like the shoe's gonna get dirty anyway. So why don't we sell it for $1,000? A shoe that looks dirty. So now he looks dirty, but he spent $1,000 on it. So he looks cool, right? It's just great. It's just beautiful. Like I think it's well done, right? But still, like I feel like Balenciaga is pretty good though. Like it's pretty good. Like how they sold that black and white. Like I think that's one of the companies I feel like they really changed things, how like people perceive clothing in the modern era. Like they really changed that modern era with the black and white, you know? They really changed it. They really changed it. Like it's like the Supreme effect. Like Supreme and then Supreme was really like a Karma Loop baby or vice versa. So Supreme was a Karma Loop baby and Karma Loop went Supreme. So it's like they're Supreme, but everybody's trying to sell streetwear. But they're Supreme. So boom, it worked, you see? But Balenciaga came in a time where like, you know, white backgrounds was coming and like distress was becoming profitable. So basically you're taking nothing and you're making it look profitable. But you have a long name, like, oh, I'm Balenciaga, right? It's like, oh, so I guess it works, right? Like, so it works. But still, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't go to a Balenciaga store and take a shit and leave. I would actually look at what they're doing. Like, but Gucci, I really wouldn't like, because Gucci, I don't think, like, Gucci is, they're good, but I look at, they're innovative, but they're consistent, right? Like, I feel like Balenciaga is, like, innovative. Like, they gonna do some shit where you gonna be like, what the fuck they doing now? Like, what the fuck they gonna do next? Like, it's like they try to innovate. They thrive on innovation, not consistency, right? Like, Gucci thrives on consistency. Like, it don't matter. Like, they're going to have a new model. They're going to have they got content for days. They just going to keep going. They thrive on certainty. But Balenciaga is like, you don't know what the fuck. Like, they might just do some shit where it's like, oh, well, okay, they're done now. Because they tried to do this. But that's why people like them, though. That's why people like it. So, there's like, I think the Balenciaga distress shoe is like my favorite product besides like the Just So shoes. The Just So shoes was genius too. Like I feel like Just So was genius and Balenciaga was genius. The distressed Balenciaga. Not the original one. Not the original one that blew it up, like the new ones, the distressed ones that look like they just tore it apart. Like, it's like they went back to like the 80s and 90s when motherfuckers was really in the mud and shit. And the colorways was like bright orange and motherfuckers was wearing like glow in the dark sneakers and shit. And it was like, oh, let's just bake these motherfuckers like they tore it apart and let's sell them for like $1,000. And people gonna wear them because they're like, I look like a regular person because my shoes is dirty, but I paid $1,000 for them. Man, they came already dirty. they already look dirty, but they're clean. You see what I'm saying? And I paid $1,000 for them. Like, that shit is genius. Like, it's genius. Yeah, that shit is genius. Like, and Balenciaga was the perfect company to do that shit. It's the perfect company. Like Gucci could have pulled it off. Even Louis Vuitton. Like, any big company could have pulled that shit off. But Balenciaga was like, they're like right in that middle of mystery. Like streetwear, mystery, like semi-luxury, but mystery, right? So it's like perfect. Beautiful. Like, that's why I like Balenciaga is like crazy. But I don't buy that shit. I just see it for what it is, you know. It's well done. It's well done. All right, this episode is done. I forgot. Like, I always forget my titles in the beginning. So I'm just going to keep going. I want to talk about just profit in general and having a profit mindset. Like, a profit mindset when in Shopify is very important. Because if you're thinking profit, this is like an extension of what I talked about when everything should be about sales. If you make everything about sales, you're putting yourself in a position of respect because you're when we talk about being a multiplier, you're becoming a multiplier. Just the fact that you're focusing on sales because you're coming in with a different skill set than other people. You might just be trying to sell, but you got rich or you have 50 or 60K set up, but you're a diesel mechanic. You're just trying to make some extra money. But you can still learn about digital marketing. Like, you don't have to be a digital marketing professional to know digital marketing. That's a good episode too. So I might talk about that. I'm going to cut that short and we're going to talk about that in the next episode. Basically, you don't have to be a digital marketer to understand digital marketing. You can just understand how it works. And I'm going to make a series of that, like digital marketing simplified. I'm going to start a series of that, like, because a lot of that shit is it's like with the numbers and the abbreviations, you can get confused into what that shit means. But I'm going to start a series that's like simplifying that because I could really educate people on that, like simplify it. But that's it. This is 13 minutes. We're going to stop right here.